Hey gang, Tim back. I'll talk if you'll listen. Episode 38. I'm back, and I, as always, appreciate your patience. This time around, nothing much to talk about really. Just listening to some really good music, and just wanted to give you all an update on what it's been like since we've last spoken. And I want to hear from you all too, what it's been like since you all have last spoken. So this time around, just like I did for a previous episode, is I'm recording this live on Instagram Live and Facebook Live all at the same time. So for those of you who don't know, I actually have a phone and a tablet, not just the phone. And I figured like, hey, let's try something new. Let's try something different. And I have the tablet hooked up for Facebook Live. I have the phone hooked up for the IG Live, and I'm liking this setup. It's pretty cool. It's crystal clear. It's no lag. The camera on the iPad, I'm running an iPad Mini 2 right now. I actually just purchased an iPad Mini 5. A little bit more about that later, but the camera looks pretty good for it to be a little outdated. The camera on the iPad Mini 5 should be way better. And obviously running the iPhone XR or XR. And the front-facing camera on that, of course, looks great as well. But this is new. And this is something that I'm going to try to keep doing. So, funny story, really quick, before I dive into the normalcy of the episode, I'll say. So, I'm setting everything up at this point. So, it's 11:30 p.m. right now on Sunday night. Creativity doesn't sleep. So, I'm trying to do this now while I'm motivated, because y'all know how it gets. And check this out, probably about maybe 2.5 hours ago, so it was like around 9:15, something like that. I set everything up for the first time. I'm sitting pretty. I got a crazy like command-based setup here right now. I got the Facebook Live on one part of the table, one part of the desk. I got the phone set up on another part of the desk. And I got the laptop set up on another part of the desk, and the microphone that I use to record everything. And everything is kind of like smushed together, but also spaced apart at the same time. And again, I feel like I'm in some sort of futuristic cockpit or something. And everything is good to go. First time ever setting it up this way. And I'm like, okay, sweet. So I'll pull up two things that on my Google Chrome web browser that I'm going to be referencing later on in the episode. This episode is going to be based on about some of the music I've been listening to. So I wanted to pull up the lyrics just to have them ready. That way you don't hear a bunch of fumbling, a bunch of clicking, anything like that. And my mouse starts bugging out. So my mouse starts moving by itself. Not a lot, not a crazy amount, but it's moving around enough for me to go, hey, I'm not doing that. Whatever, no big deal. It happens. I'm using the external mouse. I'm not using the trackpad on the laptop. So I'm like, okay, it could just be bugging out. No big deal. So I'll go to, again, continue to do the searches that I'm doing. And I find that I keep losing the cursor. And then I see that the page is scrolling up and down by itself. So I'm going like, hey, am I tripping out? Am I like, while I'm typing, is my wrist hitting the trackpad? Like, am I bugging out? I'm going crazy. Then I see programs start in different applications opening and being responsive. And if you run Windows, there's a search bar on the taskbar that allows you to search for anything on the computer. So that menu pops up by itself. And there's another menu that you can see when you're switching in between tabs or switching in between applications. If you hold down the Windows key and you hit the tab button, or if you hold down the Alt key and hit the tab button, you'll see that you can switch between open programs and applications seamlessly. So then I see that, and I'm like, okay, now I know I'm not tripping. I'm definitely not doing this. I'm definitely am not the one controlling all of this right now. So I spent like maybe 5 minutes trying to figure it out, and once I realized like, hey, my PC potentially could be being attacked right now, I found that I started to panic a little bit, and all good to go and ready to record, and ended up disconnected from the internet, running virus protection software on my laptop here. And I'm going to be 100% honest, I was very, very disheartened. And I was at the point where I'm like, you know what? I don't even know if I want to record now. I don't even know if I want to finish this episode. I'll push this back. I'll do it later on in the week. No big deal. And then I kind of sat back and said, you know what? No, I have no deadlines. Where am I going? I'm not doing anything. I don't have to get up early per se tomorrow. And, right now I'm working from home. So I don't necessarily have to worry about, travel time to and from work or anything along those lines. So I said, you know what? No, I'm going to stick it out. I'm going to let this virus protection run in the background. And I am here. Safe to say that nothing seemed to be dramatically wrong with the computer. It could have just been bugging out on its own. But in the day and age that we live in, especially in this quarantine, people got a lot of time on their hands, especially the bad apples. And, just got a little paranoid a little bit. I've watched The Matrix several dozen times. So I guess too much TV, too many action flicks can sometimes get the best of you. But it was pretty crazy because I had the IG live up like I do now. I had the Facebook live up like I do now. And everyone got to see my reaction real time. So it was kind of like a live Tim Reacts video. And it was trippy. It was trippy to say the least. But getting back to the topic at hand with the Facebook Live and IG Live, I think I'm going to do this a little bit more often. Pressure makes diamonds, and I really like the pressure of having a live outlet. Not only does it increase the interactivity, and I can interact with anyone who listens, and I can react to them real time, but it also gives me a little bit more pressure to try to do these in one take. It's also pretty cool because I'm able to interact with you all on a brand new level. I can say a lot of these people that I don't know will listen to the podcast, and I don't have the opportunity to interact with them on a regular basis or at all. But a lot of my Facebook friends and family and a lot of my IG friends and family do actually tune into the podcast. One of my biggest, proudest moments is learning that the majority of my audience is from people that I know personally. That's something special. So being able to interact with everybody live, people who I know personally and people who actually sit down and listen to the show, is dope to me. I think that's really dope. So follow me on Instagram. If you're new to the show, I put my social media links, with the exception of my Facebook. I do try to save that for people that I know personally or have crossed paths with personally, or I'm willing to let them into that side of my life. I'm willing to let them past the smoke screen, so to speak. I put all of my public social media accounts and ways to contact me in the description of the show. So feel free to follow my Instagram. Feel free to follow my Twitter for real live updates for the show, and just in general, just some of the things I'm thinking about, arbitrary thoughts, random thoughts, different ideas for the show, or just in general. I'm big on food. I love to post my food, so get to see what I'm cooking and things like that. So I'm really excited to kind of be doing this going forward. So hopefully everybody can participate. I would love to see you all participate. That being said, how is everybody? This has been a trying time for a lot of people. I think some people have handled it better than others. Some people have handled it, worse than others. And for me, the gamer side of things, it's been great. It's been really, really great. I can dive into more games that I've been wanting to get to or looking forward to getting to, and lo and behold, I finally have time to do that. There have been some other things that I've wanted to dive into. I wanted to upgrade my laptop, and I'm taking steps towards that. I actually installed some new RAM to the laptop, and I'm looking at some new laptop choices in the future. And I'm really thankful for my patrons who have helped me ease the pain of the purchase. Let's just call it the pain of the purchase, because new laptops are very, very expensive. And, I started to do that. I'm looking into some IT courses, and, I'm looking at some videos on how to edit a little bit better so the sound quality can become a little bit more tolerable or a little bit more smooth for you all. And I'm really excited to have this free time to do that. On the other side of things, I do miss people's faces. I had like a 2-hour Google Duo virtual meetup with my friend Amanda a couple of days ago, and it was great it's one thing to hear from people, because if you think about it, we hear from people all the time on social media, especially if we interact with them, and even through text, right? When we're texting people, we text people on a regular basis or a somewhat regular basis. But then it's a next level when you hear their voice. You hear their voice, there's certain things you learn to take for granted, and it's how accessible people are. So when you hear their voice after being unable to hear it for such a long time, there's something in you that just wakes up. It feels great to hear from them. I had a huge smile on my face talking to Amanda, and it was great. But then there's another level beyond that. There's another level beyond that, and actually being able to see someone's face, and in a really, really weird way, you kind of take that for granted too. And once you see that person's face again, even if it's through virtual means, you sit back and go, wow, I really missed this person. I really miss talking to this person. So me and Amanda spent basically 2 hours catching up and talking, and it was really, really fun. We're going to be doing that a little bit more regularly. I encourage you all to definitely get in touch with your friends. I encourage you all to definitely get in touch with family as much as you can, or as much as you want to, because, don't feel like you necessarily have to, I don't want to say falsify, but force a relationship. There are different things that people feel like they feel forced to do. You never want to force it, because it takes some of the sincerity away from the bigger picture. But hit these people up, hit your friends up, hit your family up, and you can do Zoom. I've been using Zoom for my fraternity and my lodge. For those of you who don't know, I'm a Freemason, so all of my lodge brothers, we'll hop on a Zoom meeting, and there'll be like 12 of us or even more at different given points of time. And it's been really great seeing everybody and interacting with everybody, and especially for the older men and women out there, their faces light up to be able to have technology like this, as accessible as it is now, to be able to just, after a press of a couple of buttons, be able to see your loved ones' faces. So I definitely encourage you to do that. For one-on-ones, I've been using Google Duo or FaceTime. FaceTime right now has a leg up on Google Duo, because as far as I know, with Google Duo, you can't have more than one person on screen at a time. You can't have a conversation with more than one person. So it's just you and that one other person. With FaceTime, you can have, I forget what the cap is, but you can have more than one person on your FaceTime, which is pretty dope and pretty cool. But of course, it's limited to anyone with an Apple device, whether that be a MacBook or a Mac desktop, an iPad, or an iPhone. If you don't have any of those, then you can't do FaceTime. You're limited to other options. But there's plenty of options. There's plenty of options. Primarily, again, I've been using Zoom, but there are plenty of options. So I highly encourage that. Like, now more than ever, we need as much social interaction as we can. Just to touch on a little bit of what I was saying earlier about being a gamer, that comes with it a certain level of interaction and being social that you get with, because you can interact with people online who game. Now, here's the benefit when it comes to being a gamer. The benefit is you can interact with people socially, one-on-one or in a large group, by just doing your hobby. So usually speaking, and I know this is kind of a topic that some people don't really want to touch on, because their friends or family or society in general may make them feel guilty about saying stuff like this. But I mean, I don't care. I'm going to say it. Sometimes you just don't feel like talking to people. You just don't feel like talking to people. You don't feel like picking up the phone. You don't feel like, going out of your way to do something. And I know it seems really, really superficial to say something like that, but I know a lot of us value our time. The world is the busiest it's ever been ever. A lot of people are working. People are working much younger than they have been before, officially anyway. People are going out, being more productive than ever before. People are working, remotely than ever before. And believe it or not, people have more kids than ever before. And a lot of these things take time and energy. And although a phone call may only take 5 or 10 minutes, right now the mindset, and don't let older generations make you feel bad about this necessarily. Sometimes, like, we view and treat our time and perceive our time much differently than the generations of old. And I think with the generations of old, even like Gen X and, the baby boomers, the problem is that was their primary form of communication, was picking up the phone. That's not necessarily the case for us. So sometimes we get the same joy out of sending somebody a text message or, seeing them online. And maybe we want to take time later on down the line to call them. Maybe we want to take, hey, in my mind, I will block out this time to call this person. To whereas other people are a little bit more spontaneous. And I find that the older people tend to be a little bit more spontaneous. Older people seem to be a little bit more, hey, let me just pick up the phone randomly and do this. And that's okay. I'm not trying to say anything's wrong with that. But, I don't want to speak for all millennials everywhere. I don't want to speak for all 30-year-olds everywhere. I don't want to speak for, anybody necessarily in my category everywhere. But sometimes you just don't feel like talking to people. And that's okay. That's okay. But I will say this. I think two things can be true. Just to reel it in a little bit. It's okay to value your time and not necessarily wanting to reach out to people, but you should make time every now and again, especially now more than ever, to do it. The benefit about being a gamer is you have other people who are already on the game doing it. So typically speaking, when you call somebody on the phone, typically speaking, one of you is taking time away from something else to be on that phone call. Some people can't multitask. I can't work and talk on the phone at the same time. I'm going to be rude to somebody. I'm going to either be rude to my colleagues, or if I'm playing the game, the other people who I'm playing the game with, or, if I'm being social, something is getting taken away from that interactivity to talk on the phone with that person. Or the inverse happens, right? The inverse happens where you're maybe not as attentive to the phone call as you necessarily want to be, because you're focusing on the thing that maybe you were focusing on before the phone call happened. So with the gaming hobby anyway, you get the option to, people are already on the game. They're already doing their hobby. They're already doing what they have to do. So you can come together and play a common game, whether it's something immensely popular like Call of Duty, or whether it's something laid back and casual like Mario Kart. Laid back and casual for most. I know amongst me and my friends, Mario Kart is a competitive sport. You lose friends with Mario Kart. But that being said, you're already doing this thing together. So it allows you that little space, that wiggle room for that extra level of social interaction. So I can imagine it being really, really tough. I oftentimes think about my friend like Amanda, or, other friends that I have who maybe aren't necessarily gamers, or they have no interest in being a gamer, or they can't afford a game system, or if they don't have internet, or whatever the case may be, they don't get that level of social interaction that gamers get without trying. And I think that's part of the reason why this whole quarantine, this whole social distancing thing has been a little bit more tolerable for me, because I get to go online and talk with whether these are people that I know personally or people I met just through gaming. I get to go online and be social. I get to do that. And there are people out there who they don't get to do that. So I can't empathize, but I definitely sympathize with your pain, or your lack of social interaction. So I do encourage you. There's something out there for everybody. You'd be surprised how awesome the Facebook groups can be. Just do a quick Google search or a Facebook search. Anything that you like, whether it be a show that you watch, whether it be an activity that you have, if it's something like crocheting, even if it's something like collecting coins, anything as obscure or niche as you think, there's somebody out there who does it too. And there's a whole group, a whole community of people who do it too. Link up with them. And if you have a little bit of anxiety about maybe hanging out with new people or doing something new, you can always just join and not do anything. You can kind of I know it sounds a little creepy, but you can watch from a distance. You can join these Facebook groups or whatever other blogs and communities, and you kind of just sit back and watch what people post, watch the videos people post and things like that. And that can maybe inspire you and motivate you in ways that you never even knew before, you never even known. So I highly encourage everybody to sit back and think about whatever you do. When you're not working, when you're not with the kids, when you're not out and about doing grocery shopping or running errands or doing anything, even if you're not watching TV, like, what are you doing? And even if it is you're watching TV, or even if it is you're just playing games, or even if it is you're just watching movies, there's a whole community out there for maybe a series that you're watching. There's a whole community out there that does that. Or maybe it's a whole community out there that falls into I know one thing that was big, or it isn't as rare as it used to be. But back in the day, about 10, 15 years ago, black people, specifically, young black adults who watched anime, it was very, very slim. It's not like it is now, where it's very popular, it's very socially acceptable to watch anime. There are a lot of mainstream anime, but back in the day, you had the stuff that came on TV, like the Thundercats, the Transformers, and stuff like that. And some people wouldn't really categorize that as anime, but it is. Voltron, that's anime. You had that was real popular, but it was real mainstream. So a lot of people didn't really give you too much flack for watching it. But back when I was growing up, the most mainstream thing, of course, there are a lot of other things, but the most mainstream thing was Dragon Ball Z. So even if you didn't watch Dragon Ball Z, you at least heard about it. You at least knew what it was, and you saw those weirdo kids in the schoolyard pretending to be Goku, Gohan, and Vegeta, or somebody else. And I know I was one of those weird kids. I was definitely fist fighting with my friends in the schoolyard. But you were considered an outcast. It wasn't a thing. Now it's common, but believe it or not, there are actually still dedicated groups for that audience, that demographic. So you can go to Facebook and just watch like black anime or anything like that. Or maybe you cosplay. And for people who don't know what cosplay is, I have a friend, Nashay, who is on IG Live right now. Thanks Nashay for tuning in. She's a casual cosplayer. So there's communities out there for people who cosplay. You can just go and search. So there's something out there for everybody. I encourage any and everybody during a quarantine right now, especially if you're not a gamer, because it's really, really easy for gamers, especially if you're not a gamer, to find that thing, go search for a community, and latch onto it. Latch onto it. YouTube and Facebook are great starting points for things like that, and then do a quick Google search. But I want to get more into audio editing. So as you all know, and for those of you who are tuning in to the Facebook Live and IG Live right now, you'll see, and I'll get to you all in a second. I know you all have been commenting. I'm going to take a break and say hello to everyone. I'm sorry if I don't want you all to think I've been neglecting you, but there are things for everybody, and for all of you who have been tuning in and listening, I record this in my office, and for anyone tuning in, you can see I'm in my office right now. I'm not working with the best studio equipment, but I'm not going to use that as a crutch or reason to not do something, I'm going to go right onto YouTube. I'm going to look for Facebook communities who are full of just amateur podcasters like me. I'm talking about people who, just like me, they got a USB mic, regardless of the quality. Some people even use their iPhone or phone headphones. They plug it right into their audio device, whether it be the laptop, PC, whatever, and they just record. There are tons of people out there like that. I'm going to join those communities and pick their brains a little bit. Hey, how can I make my sound quality better? How can I improve the quality overall? How can I get rid of the echo at this part of the audio track? How can I get rid of that weird reverb sound? Or I'm getting really weird feedback, or I notice I'm getting audio clipping here. As much as I know now, it's nothing compared to people who have much more experience than I have. So I'm going to go join those communities, and who knows, next thing you know, I could come out of it with something new. So I encourage you all to definitely look into something new. I hope I've encouraged you and inspired you and motivated you to go and look for something new. So for everyone listening to the podcast, I'm going to take a quick break and say hello to everyone who has tuned in to both the IG Live and the Facebook Live. That being said, I did want to transition into something that has been occupying my time other than gaming, other than audio engineering, and other than work, and that's music. So I kind of rediscovered music in a brand new way because I have more time to listen to it. And I listen to the same things, generally speaking. I may find some new things here and there, but typically speaking, I find myself listening to the same artists or same music. And that's both good and bad. It's bad because obviously I don't want to put myself in a musical box. I do want to expand my horizon, so to speak. So for anyone out there listening, not only to this episode, but to anyone on the IG Live or Facebook Live, you got any new music you're listening to, feel free to hit me up personally or otherwise and let me know what you're listening to right now. The good thing about listening to the same music over and over is you kind of can hear new sounds, both literally and figuratively. Literally, because I actually just dropped $200 on a new headset and I couldn't be happier with it. It's a dope headset. I'm really excited about having it. And it's a gaming headset, but it's a 7.1 surround sound headset, so you can use it for, wireless anything. So it has Bluetooth technology. I use it for my phone as well. And I found myself listening and hearing new audio bits in the music that I'm actually listening to. And for anyone out there who just uses the stock headphones or earbuds, or your earbuds break after a couple of months or a year or so, and you go and spend $5, $10, $20, $30 on a new pair of headphones, I get you. I'm there with you. I get that. But please, 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 if you can afford it, make the investment. Make the investment in superior premium quality headphones if you enjoy music, if you enjoy sound. You open yourself up sonically to a whole new landscape of different things when you make the investment. I never really understood the phrase, you get what you pay for, until I would buy school supplies and I got what I paid for. I never really appreciated the phrase, you get what you pay for, until I became an adult. And I made purchases to my toys, for my toys. The headphones, the controllers, the phones, the tablets, the microphones, everything. When you invest in that product, you're in a sense investing in yourself. I think a lot of us, and I don't want to alienate any audiences right now, if you grew up kind of like not wanting for anything, but I know specifically a lot of my childhood friends and even some of my friends now, they weren't necessarily blessed with the opportunity to get what they wanted. So oftentimes what happened is they found themselves just dealing with what they had. And that kind of grows into being an adult. And oftentimes we find ourselves dealing with what we have. And that means, hey, my headphones broke. I'm going to go out and just buy this $5 pair of headphones because I don't really need to spend a lot of money. I just want to listen to my music. And I get that. I genuinely do. And my big bro Mo, who's been he's been an advocate for this. He used to always tell me, "You get what you pay for." I used to work at a popular video game retailer, and he would come in all the time, and he would drop whatever he felt like on the stuff that he wanted. And in my head, I would always think like, "Hey man, you can just get this option, and it would be just as good." But that's not always the case. And I can honestly say that with these headphones, I'm hearing a brand new level of sound that I've never heard before. And I mean that literally. There's a particular track on the opening track, which I believe is called All Alone, on the Weeknd's new album, After Hours. There was a part in the track that I never even heard before, like musically, like the actual music. There's I don't want to say instrument because I feel like that's an oversimplification of it. But there's a part in the song that I heard a new sound that I literally never heard before. And either it got added after the fact, because, nowadays you can just upload a new audio file to these streaming services, right? But I'm quite confident that it's always been there, and I just never heard it. I just never heard it before. So I'm enjoying the music in a new way from that sense. But I'm also enjoying the music on a new level from the lyrics and the content. And I found myself really sitting back and just listening, because I found myself doing a lot of activities where I don't really have to focus too much. And I think everybody watching and listening can understand that, where you find yourself doing a task where, even if it's something simple like doing the dishes, vacuuming, maybe you got a show on in the background, you're not really listening to it, and you can kind of like tune into something at a deeper level. And for me, it's been music. And I'm just really reflecting on the lyrics. And there's two songs in general that I've been listening to, more than just these two songs, but these two songs in general that I wanted to bring up. And I wanted everybody to I just want to get your take on these lyrics. These lyrics are really, really powerful. And they really, really hit me. And I've been slowly starting to unpack these lyrics. I've been slowly starting to unpack what these mean, what the space that the artist was in when they spoke about the lyrics or sung the lyrics or rapped the lyrics, and kind of like how I can relate to it. So let me just get some of your time and pull these lyrics up. One hits home a little bit more than the other one does. Here, let me go to, here we go. So the first one is called Escape from LA. It's from the Weeknd's latest album, After Hours. And it's a really, really deep song. So on the surface, it's a good song. The beat is nice. The production value is nice. The sound quality is amazing. It's sonically great. The way the Weeknd's vocals sit on the track is, you can tell he puts a lot of attention and effort into everything that he does. So from the outside looking in, like the typical blase blah stuff, right? It's a good. But we really start unpacking these lyrics. And from the very first line, so his very first line is, "You pillow talk to me about the men who try to get in between us." And it really got me to thinking, like, on the surface, you can look at that lyric and go, oh, well, it is what it is. This woman who doesn't care about commitment, or maybe is too scared to commit, is sitting back and talking to the guy who wants for her, who longs for her, who cares for her, about, and it's men, plural, who want to break up, which he thinks that they have. But as I listened to this track over and over and over again, it really hit me that the crazy part is that he's letting it happen. And I think from the artist's perspective, that's very introspective, because it's one thing to rap it, it's one thing to say it, and it's one thing to sing it. But he's letting it happen. It's like he sees the toxicity, he sees the negativity, and he sees that this isn't necessarily a productive or fruitful relationship. But he keeps coming back to it. He keeps letting it happen. And that's just so dope. I appreciate the Weeknd so much, because in a world of being overly sensitive, or in a world of being too insensitive, men's emotions specifically men, our emotions oftentimes get tossed to the wayside. And it's really refreshing and really, really nice to see The Weeknd just lay it all out there. And I think a lot of guys won't get on the platform and say this because of this perception that we have to feel like we have to be. We have to be tough. We have to be stoic. We have to be hardened. We're not allowed to be saps, so to speak, in open doors, only behind closed doors. It's really refreshing and uplifting and motivating to hear people like The Weeknd get on his platform and talk about things like that. So I really appreciate his vulnerability with this track. There's another part though that about this song in particular, and I'm scrolling down to it now, because there's a part in the song where the beat changes, the whole feeling, the melody, everything changes about the song, and it transitions into a very, very deep, introspective part. And just bear with me here while I find it. So he has this part. It's really, really dope. It's towards the back end of the song, the back half of the song, and it goes, "LA girls all look the same. I can't recognize. The same work done on their face. I don't criticize." And that little snippet, those two bars right there, are so powerful to me. Because here he is a guy who's indulging in life's vices, right? Especially from the perspective of this album. He's very detached from his emotions, and he's very lust driven. He's very, what's the word I'm looking for? He's very impulsive on his desires, right? You know, he's not necessarily looking for anything with substance right now. And he's sitting here going, LA girls all look the same. So I feel like it's like this internal struggle, right? Where on one end, he's like, these girls all look the same. They're not different at all. They're out here and they think that they're different. Not realizing that they're all the same because they're all trying to be different. And I think that's just so deep. But on the other side of that lyric, he's like, you know, I can't recognize. So for him, from a physical, literal sense, they all look the same. There's no difference. He can get what he wants to get out of any of them because they're all going to serve the same purpose, right? But from an emotional standpoint, the side of that lyric is he can't recognize the girl or himself because he's not like physically looking at them. He's like looking at what they can give him. He's looking for the desire. He's looking for that lust. He's looking for that pleasure. So they all look the same because it doesn't matter. You know, it's kind of like money is money. It doesn't matter who it's coming from type of thing. You're not, you know, it's such a powerful lyric. And I think lyrics like this that get squeezed in or thrown into a song, I think oftentimes gets overlooked. And it's really, really, really powerful. He even goes on to say, you know, again, the same work done on their face, I don't criticize. You know, they're going out trying to look like each other unintentionally. It's like almost like subconscious to this point. So I really encourage you not only to just listen to the whole album because the whole album is dope. I encourage you to go and listen to this song specifically. Again, it's called Escape from LA. The overall tone of the song is amazing because it talks about him thinking that he wants something initially. He used to want to be in this place, and now he's at a place where he doesn't even recognize where he is, and now he wants to leave. It's not all it's cracked up to be. So I do encourage you to listen to the album. I do encourage you to listen to the song and tell me what you think about it. Hit me up. I'll talk if you listen at hotmail.com. Hit me up on my social media. Hell, if you got my number, just text me. Let me know what you think about the song. I would love to hear your thoughts. The next song that I wanted to bring your attention to, and I'm not necessarily going to call out, maybe I will. Maybe I'll call out some lyrics specifically, but I just want to talk about the overall song because this song, I actually went through this. I was very, very too close to this topic, way closer to this topic than I would like to admit, but very, very close to this topic. So it's the song called I'm Sorry, and it's about suicide, and it's by Joyner Lucas, Joyn as in November, ER, Lucas, Lucas. And It's from his album that came out, I want to say in 2017, but it's called I'm Sorry. It's about suicide, and the reason I'm so attached to this song is I had my childhood friend, my best friend growing up, was a very troubled person, and definitely came very, very close to suicide. And this is a topic that's very, very near and dear to my heart because men, especially, not to alienate any women out there or anyone else, but young men in particular go through so much that people will never know about. Because again, like I mentioned earlier, we all have to put on this shield. We all have to kind of like showcase what a man is, what we look like, what we sound like, how we're supposed to be. We're not allowed to be vulnerable. We're not allowed to express these sides of us. And when we bottle all of that in, we kind of tend to deal with things that we think in a really, really weird way no one else is going through or no one else can understand. So like our brain tricks us into thinking that we need to take our lives in order to run from it all. And this song has two verses. It's from the perspective of the person who takes his life. He's actually writing a suicide note, and he's writing it in general, but also to a friend. And he's telling the world and his friend that I know you're probably going to say I'm a coward. I know you're probably going to say this is the easy way out, but I'm suffering something fierce. I'm dealing with things that you don't even know, and I can't deal with this anymore. I'm paraphrasing because I don't want to take the impact from the song away. I want you to go and listen to it. Go and listen to the song. You'll really, really like it. And the second verse is that friend reading the note and reacting to it. And I could totally empathize and relate to that second verse because I was that friend. I was on the other side of that. Now, luckily, my childhood friend didn't take his life, but I've had very similar conversations with him where you find yourself in a really, really tough position whenever you're dealing with anyone with an affliction, whether it be a physical or personal affliction. It could be a drug addiction. It could be a mental affliction. It could be mental turmoil. It could be them being terminally ill. It could be so many different things. And it's about them. They're the victim in the situation. However, they shouldn't always feel helpless. You never want to feel helpless. It's okay to be down. It's never okay to stay down. But when you're that person's support, in that person's support group, you're that person's friend, you're that person's family, you find yourself in a really weird position where you're feeling these thoughts and emotions about how the person's being a coward, how the person's being weak. And you don't always feel that way, but those thoughts come into your head. But you're afraid to express those, either A, by making the situation worse. You don't want to amplify the situation. But B, you don't want the outside world to feel like you're making it about you when you're really not. You have these feelings that you're sitting on and you want to express these feelings. And like on one end, you're like, hey, I'm sorry you had to go through this alone, or you felt like you had to go through this alone. I was in your corner. I couldn't imagine what you're going through. And, hey, let's get you help. I want to be there for you. But on the other end, it's kind of like, hey, why are you doing this to yourself? Why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing this to us? People care about you. You're being selfish. And it's a really cool song because it talks about feelings that I think anyone who's ever been in that position, they felt, but they're too afraid to talk about it, don't know how to articulate it. So it's a dope song. Go listen to it again. It's called I'm Sorry. It's by Joyner Lucas. And it's really, really dope. Super dope. But I've also been listening to some old school music. I've rediscovered Mos Def's Black on Both Sides 1999 album. Dope album. I listened to it several times back in the day, but I encourage you, I think, at least, once a year, but definitely at least several times a decade, you should go back and listen to music that came out a while ago because you have a new perspective. You'll see that the plot never changes. Your perspective does. And you can say the same thing about certain movies. But definitely encourage you to go and listen to Joyner Lucas's I'm Sorry. It's such a powerful song. Such a powerful song. I just can't get enough of it. Listen to it on repeat. That being said, that's pretty much all I had. Everybody, like I said, I didn't really have much to talk about. I appreciate some of your time as I kind of like deal with what I'm dealing with, and I want you to all know that I'm in your corner. You can talk to me. I want you to reach out to me. I want you to let me know how this whole quarantine has been impacting you. Let me know what new music, new shows, new TV, new movies that you've been discovering. Let me know what communities you're thinking about getting into. Let me know what hobbies that you want. Let me know. Feel free. And for everyone tuning in on the IG Live and Facebook Live, this is going to be a bit of a regular thing as I record these shows. They're usually pre-recorded and then I post them. But I really like this intimate connection. I really, really do. And it's a new level of interactivity. So keep an eye out. It's definitely encouraging me. It gives me something to look forward to. And we all know that now more than ever, we definitely need as much as we can to look forward to. So one last bit. Another reason, aside from the people who listen to the podcast, another reason you want to tune into the IG Lives or Facebook Lives is I delete the videos afterwards. I don't save them because I think it takes away from the integrity of the podcast. I think I try to do a diligent job of sharing the podcast, sharing it on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, trying to share it as much as I can. I know my friends who have been avid supporters of the show, they definitely go out and spread it through word of mouth. So there's a lot of circulation for the show. And I think leaving it up for people to just kind of log into the social media and view it, although convenient and although potentially beneficial to the show, I definitely don't want to take away from the integrity of the show. I don't want to make my listeners feel cheated or like they're missing out necessarily. Like in a way you are missing out because you get to see different things and interact with the topic live, but I don't want people to feel like who have gone out of their way to download or stream the show to feel like, hey, I can just go online and do it. And I can't edit the video anyway. I can't edit the video online at all. I can't do that. So it's like all or nothing. So the sneezes, the burps, the farts, the whole nine you kind of see, and I think that takes away from the quality of the show a little bit, just a little bit. But thanks for some of your time. I really appreciate it. I'm going to stay on the IG Live and the Facebook Live a little bit after the recording just to answer some questions and some feedback. But I thank everyone for listening. I really do appreciate it. And hopefully next time I'll have some more interesting things to talk about. But until the next time, I'll keep talking if you'll listen. Take care.